Alright, so we are back online, and today we are going to look at how to build a simple React native news application using the newsapi.org's API. Now, I have already built an advanced version of the app that I call the Brief News, and um, it has this section that you can actually view news under categories. So if you go to business news, you can view business news, and it contains a list of business news from the newsapi.org database. So actually all these news are being fetched from the newsapi.org. So you can also switch to, let's say, technology, and then it loads the technology news and displays the news on the technology. And also you can view a specific news. Let's say I want to view this. So once I click on it, you have the title and some menu web view. So you have the URL over here. You can also share the news in any platform. So let's say I want to share to WhatsApp, and then okay, so WhatsApp needs to start kind of slow. Alright, so I'll select any contact and then say okay to Drake, and yes. Alright, so this how it shares, and it has some information in here. So I'm going to say Samsung DSR, all the stuff. Then once I click on ship, it will go straight to the user, and I can then come back to the app. Alright, so I come back to Brief News, and then alright, so this is kind of the web view, so users can actually read the news on the go in the app without opening any application. So once you're done, you can close it. So basically this is the advanced version of what we are going to build today. So you can go through and add more stuff if you want to add. We are just going to look at the basics, and what we're going to look today is to have a list of news like this, and possibly, if possible, we add the web view section so that you can actually display the news to the user. But I'll make the code for what we're going to build today ready on my GitHub, so you can just clone and go through one to stuff, and also modify and share with the world or YouTube. So that's what we're going to look at today. So first of all, we need to install React Native, and what we do is we use the npm command and say npm install global install G React. Let me go and check on their website. So alright, so React Native, and then we go to get started. Then once we get to get started, we need to check. Okay, so we are not going to use this command, no, because we are not going to build on what we call the expo. No, we're not going to build on expo. We are going to build on our own. So we are going to use the React native CLI. So you copy this, you come in here, so let me delete everything and then paste. So it's a React Native CLI, and before you can work with React Native, you need to also have Android Studio setup, or let's say if you are working around the iOS platform, you need to make sure your Xcode is configured correctly. So there are steps and instructions in configuring those environments. So you need to make sure that you have configured everything, or you can check on YouTube. I think there are a lot of tutorials out there that will teach you how to configure for both platforms. So you can read through here and then go through and install what is required in order to start working with React Native. So alright, so our React Native is CLI is installed. Now we need to create a new project. So I'm going to switch to my other drive and then cd tutorials, and then once I'm in there, or you are in the place that you want to actually install your project, you create a new React app. So you are going to say React Native init, or better still, you can come down and then copy this. So it's the same thing, you copy this. Now there is one thing that you need to check, and that thing is your project name. Now I'm going to say this project is RNNewsApp, so you can name it any name that you want to, but make sure that, okay, so you say this is my project name is going to be the name for the app until I configure it. So once you come to, let's say, the home screen, you see this one is brief news. So if I don't change it, it's going to be RNNewsApp, like for the brief news over here. So we need to also look at that one. We're going to look at it. So you need to check your project name, and then we init it. So we press on enter. Sorry. Alright. You press on enter and then get React Native app ready. So your project will be ready once you have done it. So I have already done this, so I'll press no, and then I'll cd in the React News app. So you need to make sure that your project is created. Mine is already created and it's empty, so I need not to create it again. So I'll cd in that project, and then so let me go in the alright. So alright, let me open the real quick. Sorry. New window. Alright, so I'm going to start VS Code. So let's take a quick look at what is actually going on in here. So I need to start my Android virtual device, which I was using the Nox player for Android Studio, it works perfectly. But once you're working with React Native, then you have to go back to, let's say, the Android virtual advice itself. So I'm going to start that one, and you have to follow the instruction there to get the Android virtual advice setup. So it's somewhere in backups. Okay, then SDK, and then I'll go to AVD. All right, let me close this. I'm not going to need it. All right, so VS Code is ready, and I need to open a new project. So open a new folder. Let's see, open a folder. So I'll go to, I'll go to tutorials, and then this is a project. So I already have this project, and I'll select the project, and it's going to load everything in here. Now what we need to do is to start our virtual device. So I'm going to start my virtual device. Launch, yeah, no problem. Okay, so the virtual device is starting. Actually, I'm using the platform 4.4.2 API level 19. Well, you can use any API level. Once you follow the tutorial on this site, you can create any device that you want. Once it meets your specification, you are okay to go. So let's start. All right, so now it's starting. It means we have loaded our project, and we have this bunch of files in here. Only one file or a couple of files that we are interested in. Okay, so you can be here. Let me see. Now you have to go settings, horizontal. Alright, let me see, can just be. Alright, so we need to look at the package.json, and this package.json file contains what we need, the dependencies that we need, or the node dependencies that we need for our application. Now I need to install some dependencies. Now we are going to need we are going to need one framework that we call the UI component framework that we call the native base is React Native UI component framework that we can work with. So it gives us the power to create beautiful interfaces with really ease speed. So we're going to get the best of speed. We're going to create beautiful apps, and all that we need to concentrate on is more of the logic and also bits of the UI. So we are going to get a lot of startups. So let's say if we want button, now we're going to get buttons already designed for us. All that we need to do is to create import the files, and then create our UI files. So once we import, then we can use. So let's go back to VS Code and then install native base. Why haven't okay, let's say native base native base. Okay, so current version the native base native kind of slow right here. I just want to use this to get the native base. Okay, the current version is 2.3.3. you can see it's over here 2.3.3. so 2.3.3, and then we need to add one more thing that is going to be part of the dependencies that we're going to use, and that is going to be how we call moment. We're going to use moment to display time ago. Actually it's not that important, but I want to show you how to moment why I'm spending my time over here. Moment. Okay, so moment 2.19.2 2.19.2. so we also have one last file that we need to import, that is alright, load dash load dash load dash load dash. So I'm going to say load dash. Alright, 4.1, and then we install. So this is basically the dependencies that we add. We add native base, we add moment, and then we add load dash. Open the console terminal. So open terminal. Is it open where? Alright, so we open terminal, and then we are going to say npm I. So we install npm install or npm install. So once you run npm install, it's going to install all these dependencies for us so that we can start building our application. Okay, so our emulator is ready and kicking, so we can also work with that one too. Let me check. Alright, kind of not important right now. Alright, so still installing moment. Alright, so the reason why we need moment is that now let's take a look at this news articles. Now this news article brings out some time of the news. Now this time is in raw format, is in the UTC format, in a raw state. So we are going to use moment to calculate the time difference from the current time as the news was loaded and the time the news was published or fetched onto the news API's database, or the news was published on the site. So now this is 43 minutes ago, and the source is Financial Times. We also have Business Insider. Oh, kind of small screen. So, all right. Now this UI is built on native base, and the app is built on React Native. So we're going to build the same thing. Oh, kind of. All right. And okay, this feature is okay. Still React dependencies are installing. Kind of bored. Alright, so now that we have all the dependencies installed, kind of something. Alright, so we have the dependencies installed. We can then tell React to build. So you open terminal in your project folder, and then you run react native run Android. Now you need to make sure that once you run the React Native run Android, you're going to have your emulator running, and also you are not going to add any dependency for now, because React is going to use its own package manager to package your application, all the JavaScript files, and then try to ship everything onto the Android device so that we can work in a more efficient way by adding the hot reloading feature, so that we can just edit what we need, and then it ships that small update back to the Android device, so that we don't need to recompile everything from scratch again. So you need to make sure that your dependencies are added before you run the React Native start or React Native run Android, because this is going to ship everything onto the device. And if you want to avoid errors, then you need to make sure that the dependencies that you're going to need at the moment or for the start is available. So you need to make sure that you've installed all the necessary dependencies before you continue. So let's go. We are going to run React Native run Android, and then wait for React to start the magic. I will never go away. Okay, so as we wait for React to start building or getting our app ready, let's go and check one important thing that we are going to use in our app, and that is what I call the news API.org. Now we visit news API.org. Okay. Okay, so this is basically the site for the news API.org. Now here is where we fetch the news and display in the app that we are going to build today. So one most important thing is to get a key or an authorization from this site that you want to use their database, or you want to use their API to feed your app with the news that they have. So you need to get an API key. So once you click on the API key, you will come to log register. Let me log out my account. Alright, so let's go back. Oh, let me just register. Okay, so once you click on get API key, you come to register, and then you need to fill the form with your particulars, and then whoa, slow, fast, password. There we go. Okay, so you need to follow, and then oh, okay, you follow, and then you register, then hit on submit. Now once you provide a valid email address, this site is going to send you a confirmation URL so that you can confirm your account and confirm your registration, and then you can come back and then log in to the site. So let me log in. I already have accounts with them, so whoa, okay, enter my password. Okay, so it will be ready, and the most important thing over here is the API key that we're going to need. So the important thing over here is the API key. Now this API key is what is going to allow us to get information from the website or the news API.org's API. Now let's go back to home and go to get started. Okay, kind of slow internet. Alright, so let's bring let's bring let's go to authentication. Okay, well, kind of slow. Alright, so we come here and look at one of the things important is authentication. Now authentication is handled with a simple API key, and this is my API key. You get yours, and you can attach your API key to the request in one of the three ways, and then via the API key. So we are going to look at how to set this configurations when it comes to the authentication. So I'm not going to close this website too, we're going to use it as we continue. So let's come back to Android, no sorry, the Visual Studio Code and see. Okay, so 72% done. Our app is still building. React packager, Metro builder, bundler. Oh, now okay, so now they call it Metro bundler. Alright, so let's put that one somewhere. Wait, let me go and reset. Okay, so now that React Native, our application is ready, we are going to make some few configurations that we need to make sure that the app runs in a more development environment. So we are going to create a source folder, and this source folder is going to have 4 folders, 4 subfolders. Now the first subfolder is the folder that we call the components folder. Now this folder is responsible for containing or housing subcomponents that we are going to reuse in our applications. Now if you want to create a button that you want to reuse across your application, you can put the file of that button or the JS file of the button into the components folder. So all that you need to do is to call it into any other file that you want to. And then we have the config file. Now the config folder. The config folder contains config files. Now if, for example, we want to create a REST config file that is going to contain our URL to the API, the language that we want to select, a category, news category that we want to fetch, and our API key, which is not the best practice to keep your API key in your code. This is how we're going to set things up. Now the config folder may contain different kind of configs that you want to add to your application. Actually, it's not that each and every application you have to follow this kind of structure, but this is the basic way you can organize things. So this is how we organize things. So in case that we change our API key, we come to the REST config and then change our API key, and that's all. We don't need to go into our code here and then change it. Alright, so the next folder is what we call the screens folder. Now the screens folder contains pages or activities of our application. So if, for example, we are building for the web, now the screens will serve as the directory for pages or views of our web pages. So let's say we have the contact us page. Now it is going to be under the screens folder. Now the screens folder now contains one screen that I name it the home screen. Now the home screen is just a screen that is going to house our application. It's going to be the main point of entry for our application, so I name it the home screen. I can add multiple screens if I want to, and it's the best practice to organize this in a way that you can just come in here and debug if you want to debug, and it's really good for testing. Now the next directory is what I call the services. Now the services directory contain all other logic piece of code that we want to implement outside the view, or let's say you want to call make a callback to the database or make a callback to a REST API. Then you need to create a file in here that is going to handle that call and then bring the results back to the view. So services are more like controllers, or you can call it any other thing that you want, but it serves as a different file that works differently from our view. So maybe the view will be responsible, or the screen or the component will be responsible for updating its UI due to some events from the service. Then that's how it works. So maybe the view will call up the service, and the service is going to do a background job and then return the response back to the view. So services are more or less like separate files that works on its own to bring us back a result. Alright, So basically these are the 4 directories or folders that we're going to create. So now let's go to our app index.js where our app starts. Now we are loading our app from the app view, which is not what I want to do. So undo, paste. Alright, so we are going to import from, then we go to src, and then we go to screens, and then home. Alright, so we have home, and then we import home screen from home. Alright, so we just set our app bootstrap point to the home screen, so that's where the main component that we register as our endpoint. And let's come to the home.js. Now it just contains only a file, and let's see, so it's building. No promise rejection, it's not important. Alright, so app is going to be updated and is going to show this test somewhere in here. Oh, slow. Alright, so this is our new points of entry for app. So let's get rid of the app.js. Okay, yes, we want to get rid of it. And then once we get rid of that, let's also come back to the home.js and then make some new changes. Now we need to make something like this in our app. We need to have the toolbar, or the toolbar, and then we need to have the app bar. Now the most important thing is we have already included the native base dependency in our project, so we can copy. I'm going to need some few of them. Let me import IMD from native base. Native base, and then we say import native base I. Not sure. Import from native base. We first import the container. You go to the header, then under header we import the body, then we import title, then the next one we import content. Alright, so basically this is what we want to. So under the render, we are going to return container, and then close the container tag, come in here, wow. Alright, so we are going to have header, and then we close header. Oh, sorry. And then in the header we're going to have one thing that we call the body, and then in the body, we close body, we're going to have one thing that we call title, and then title is going to have children, and the children is going to be the app title. So we can use news app, no, let's say RNNewsApp, no, alright. So yes, we are going to have this, and then now that's all for header. Let's see, can we format documents? Alright, so under here we're going to have how we call the contents, and then close contents. Okay, so this is going to be how our app will look. So let's see if we build it. Okay, so once we build, we're going to get something like this, and this is what we wanted. So let's go and then add the list, because this is going to be what we want to display, the list of news items. And let's come to list, and then let's write thumbnail. Okay, so come here. Yeah, we want to do something like this, because the original app, which shows okay, so this image that you see here is a shot or a snapshot from the version I built earlier that we are building on it. We want to build something like this. So this app has image here, then the title of the news article, some description, and then the source and time. So we have the news title, description, source, and time with image. So each and every one of them is going to have image, title, description, source, and time. So we need to design this item or news item as a component, and then repeat this component according to the information that is given. So this is going to be a component, and a component that only one component being repeated multiple times. So let's go in here and then come to components, create a new component. Now we're going to call the list item .js. Now this file is going to be a pure component, and then we're going to have React, let's see, rn okay, so we import touchable opacity, and then we're also going to import what again, let's come back to this. We're going to import, okay, the text, and then image. Alright, okay, so we are going to also, we are only importing touchable opacity from React Native, and then we import native base, we import body, text, thumbnail, and then again we import view from native base. So basically this is what we're going to import, and then we are going to import one component that we are going to create later. So let's say we have then export default class, we call it list data item stands pure component, and then we have now we are going to have the we are going to have constructor function that is going to have an argument of properties, and then we assign this the super with the props, and then we are going to say this dot data is equal to props dot data, which means that this list item data component should have a prop of data in order to work, because this is going to be data containing the news item and data containing all information about the news. So it's going to be a JSON object of the news description, the news title, the date or the time, and then it's also going to contain the image URL for the news. So we come down in here, and then once we do that in the constructor, we're going to be in the render. So the render function is going to have the super. Okay, so we say return. In the return, we're going to return the touchable opacity. So let me close this touch opacity, and then it's going to have opacity, active opacity. I'm going to have active opacity of 0.5 and focus opacity. Okay, no, focus opacity. We're going to have a handler, but for now we will focus on how to design it. So the next thing is, okay, the style, and then it's going to have flex direction of row, and then we come in here. So we have in a row, we need to have the thumbnail, no, a view, sorry, we need to have a view. Okay, we will do the thumbnail first. The thumbnail, and then we close the thumbnail. We're going to say the source, the size is going to be, let me copy the same as what I did. Size is going to have this, so it's square and it's large and the style. Okay, so copy, come in here and paste the same thing. Alright, so then we go in here where the next is the source. Now this is very important because the source is where the news item image is going to be picked from. So it's going to contain URL, and then I will remove some okay, so it's either this data URL image to URL to image, or this. Now this whole bunch of, let me bring this one here. Okay, this whole bunch of string is an image data string converted to base 64 that basically displays an image. So okay, so this is what we get. This is going to display when there is no image. So we need to check that if the article has an image, so if this data dot URL image, so we check, so we can add one thing. So we're going to say not equal to null. So if it's not equal to null, we bring up the image URL, or we set the source to this whole bunch of image that is going to display nothing. Alright, so the next thing is to add the section. We call, okay, I've closed it. So the section called the body section, where we're going to let me copy and then come in here and then paste. Alright, so we're going to remove the font family, maintain the font size, and then number of lines is 2, and then this is going to display the title of the article. So if we display the title of the article, and then we're going to display the description, we add a prop to the text that is note, so it should be different from the title. It's going to be like faded. So looking at image, we having a faded description over here, and we're also going to having a deep title in here. So the next thing is to create this time ago component, and we will be almost done with the series. So let's go into the component and then create a new file. I say moment, no, let's say time.js. Now the time.js is used to display time. Alright, so I'm going to open that one. Is also going to be a pure component, so import imp rpc, and then rnd moment. Once we import moment, okay, so let's import moment from moment. So we import the entire package, and then we come in here and say export default class time extends pure component, and then that one too is going to have a constructor, and then props, and super props. So we're going to say this dot date is equal to props dot let's say date. Now we assign date to the prop date, and then we render. But before we render, we need to, okay, let's, in the render function, let's do something before. So we are going to check in to see. So we are going to say constant time is equal to moment. Okay, so there's it. Constant time is equal to moment. This is dot props dot, no, this dot date, moments from now. So one of the things is that we check if there is date, and if date is not equal to null, then we use the current, we use the date, or if it's null, we are going to use the current time and then display it, so it's going to be a few seconds ago, and then return. So in the render we have to return something. So this one should be view. Now it should be import view from, import view from native base, and then come in here, return, let's return view oh sorry, it's not view, we need text. So let's return text, and then we say is notes, number of lines is equal to 1, and then the children is equal to time, and that will be all. So do we apply style? Okay, so we apply style. Let's copy this, and then come in here. Let's style, and then we close the section. So this is what we return, and let's import time ago. So I import so you import from, now it's the same, so go back and say import from time, and then say time ago. Alright, so we're going to have something like this. Okay, so let's print out a dummy information in here. So we have our list in done, and then let's come to in here where we're going to return. So we have to add a list and list item, list, then list item. Okay, so we import list, and then let's say the list takes some file that called some array that is called the items that it needs to display. So we're going to say items is equal to, now we know that the news has an image, so we say URL to image. URL to image is equal to, no, it's null, and then title is I'm happy, or image is null. And then we have author, no, source, sorry, we have the source, and then the source is, let's say, BBC UK, or for short BBC. And then we are going to have description. Let's make it more smooth. Description, description is okay, and then should come somewhere here. Okay, so we have something like this as an article. Okay, date, and then that one is going to be published at, sure, let me check, from the list item dot description dot publish at, and then we're going to say date published at, and let's come in here, remove this, and then let's go to date dot now. Alright, so let's copy this and repeat it for about 2 1 2. Alright, so this is going to be our array, and we're going to say list data array is equal to this dot items, and then we're going to say render row is equal to, that one is a function, so the render row, let's make it more simple, and then the render row is a function, so it should go like something like this, and then we call this in here the item, but it's looping through the item. And then once we have item, we can then say return return list item my children is equal to, now the children of the list item is, we need to also import so we're going to say this is home, so go to home, go back to components and check. Alright, so we'll be going back to component. And then we select list item in there, because list item is by default. Okay, so we're going to say list data item, so we export data item in here. Then we come down to the children. Let me say list item close, and then in here we're going to have one data item that is going to have data is equal to item, and then we close it. So basically this is what we're going to have if there is no error. Let's run, reload our app and see. Oh, so I didn't say this. I'm gonna reload. Okay. Okay, so once it's done, we get something like this, and this is what we wanted, but there's a problem with margin, which is being caused by the content that we added in the home.js. So this is the reason why we're getting this. So let's come in here, and then let's see pada. Let me check. in here and say father. Then we're going to say false. And let's see. Sure, I have to render. Right. So let's render and see. No, it's not that one. Maybe okay. Let me go to so the list is having the margin left of 16 pixels as defined by the material guidelines. So one thing that we need to do to make sure that the gap is there but it does not show as it was showing already, is to add the content container style to the content component. So you add the prop content container style, then you add the background color of white so that it will be the same as that of the item. And then we need to write up the script to fetch the news from the newsapi.org. So let's come back to our home.js file where we are going to load the news items and display in a list out here. So there are one or two things that we need to get now. Looking at this, there is a change in our component our constructor function. We added an object that we call the state. So this state has the loading boolean and the data, which is an array, and an error, which default is a boolean but is false. So what does this mean? Now we want to add a function like loading place wait, and then once we fetch the news from the server or from the newsapi.org's server, then we're going to say news loaded. So we're going to say news loaded, and then we display the news, then we put the loading to false, and we replace the data with the data that we fetch from the server. And then if there is an error, we alert the error on the screen. So one of the things that we needed to change was to add a view that has this styles. Okay, let me minimize this one. Okay, so we have a view that has a style flex of 1. It aligns its items in the center, just far in the center, and this view contains the activity indicator. And what we mean by the activity indicator is this kind of loading animation over here, so like progress animator over here, and we set its animating to the loading. So what it means that if by default the loading is true, it will be loading true or animating true, and then you can have the constructor color, which is an array or string. So you can have multiple colors that you want to display. Right now I'm only adding the sea blue color. You can change it to any color that you want, but it has to be a string or an array. If it's an array, it has to contain more than one colors, or if it's a single color, you can use the string uh, method or the string type. Sorry. So we continue from there and go to the text, and then this text has a margin top, a style of margin top 8, and the children in the text is please wait. So basically is this view over here. So we continue from there, and then we have another section of it. So at first we are only having this section that displays the list traits, but now we want to make this list view more dynamic and this entire view more dynamic in a way that once we load something from the view, sorry, something from the server, we want to update the view that okay, there is a news. So just switch from this state to this state. So it means that is going to be like the loading view, and once the data is loaded, we just bring this view in there. So let's see, we have the constant view. Now this constant view is a variable that depends on the state loading. It's loading. So if its loading is true, then we are going to bring this, okay. Or if its loading is false, which means we are downloading, we need to bring this. Now in here we can even add more features to this. We can check if there is an error, then we display the error, and if there is no error, then we continue and come in here. But we are much concerned with how to display the loading view and the list view after it has been loaded. So everything is the same over here. So see, you have children. Okay, the change over here is the view. Now see, we have this view, so it's either this or that, and that's how it works. So we return the view in the children of the content. Now it's very simple. All that we need to do now is to go to the services and then add a new file that we're going to call the news.js. So this is going to be the news file or the news service. Now this kinda slow. Alright, so this news file depends on two dependencies, one in our app and one external dependency. Now we are going to import order by from load dash, okay, and then we also import we're going to import. Let's go back and then we say config, and then we choose the rest config. Okay, so let's go into where we import. So we're going to import the API key, we're going to import the language, we're going to import the category, we're going to import one more thing. Let's go and check in here. okay, in the article's URL. So okay, so we import this files, and this are the only imports that we're going to do in this news JS file. So we are going to create an async function. So we export async function get articles function, and then in here we do a try and catch. So it's a try catch error, and then true error. Alright, so within the try we're going to have a variable that we call let, and that let is what we call articles is equal to wait fetch, and in here we're going to have string. Alright, so we have this function, this variable called the articles URL. I forgot something. Now the results needs because this is an object, we need to bring out the articles part of it, because if you were to look at the newsapi.org's response once we query in for a news article, they are going to reply with a JSON object that has the success or the response or the status which will be successful, and they are going to have some other property, then the articles property, because that's what we looking at. So there's a results.articles, and then it's an array. This is going to be an array of the articles that we're looking at. So one of the things that we also need to do is look at this third argument in the order by. Now we want to order by it, like sort the news articles by the published at. So if the date that it was published is um, earlier or current, then that one is going to be the top in that order. So the current news are going to be on top, and then we use the descending order, so like from top to down, the current news, then we return that as our news. So basically this is a script that we want to write to fetch our news. And let's go to the home.js and update one thing. Now we need to import this function, so we're going to remove this article by source, and then get article, and then we say get article, let me see function name, okay, get articles. So get articles, Alright, so we get the articles, and this one is going to be a successful journey. Let's check it out. Okay, no problem. Okay, so what we do now is to send a request, and once our files are ready, we go to the emulator and then send a request, and we can check it out here that we have some response. Let's try to reload again and see. Okay, so let's go network, and okay, alright, so we are having a response. So this is going to be the response, and we can go back here and look at here the results. Articles published. Okay, so published at, you need to make sure you correct this is published at, then save, then let's re-render. Oh, alright, so it's loading. Let's wait to see the guy response. So there is a problem that we are able to display the news, but we cannot actually get the news on the UI. There is a problem over here, so we need to fix this, because the articles of JSON is another async function that we need to await it. So we say await that function, and then it means we're actually going to get the news ready. And once we corrected the published at and the await, because this is a promise that we need to await it. Okay, it's a promise, and then we need to await it so that we can get the response. So let's reload. I want to show the okay, so toggle inspector, network. Let's see. Oh, kind of slow. Okay, let's go and change one fact, one configuration over here. Maybe removing this. Okay. And then instead of showing an error, we're going to say something. Something happened. Please try. Try again. Okay, so it's kind of working, but slow. So let's optimize one or two stuff, and then we come in here. Okay, so let's change this from component to pure component. Okay, pure component. Wait for it. Alright, so it seems it's working faster than before, and there's a lot of bits of configurations that we need to do, especially with the display of images, because we realize that these images are so really big for mobile, and you need to make sure that you compress it. So when it comes to compression, I use a private um, compression tool that compress those images and return the compressed images. Let's work very slow over here. We have a couple of frames today, that's why. Okay, so this is a service that takes in the image HTTP address and then compress it. So let's copy this and then let's choose come to our news item. Now we need to prefix the URI here with let's do it, let me see. Okay, so it takes in this URL first. Let's go. Okay, so it takes the URL first, and file is equal to plus, and then we go again plus. We have to add a variable, another parameter that is called the quality, in order to choose between, because if you read the documentation over here, they say the quality from 100 to 1% to 10% to 100%. So you have to choose between the quality that you want, and for mobile I would recommend from 20 to 40. Yes, 20 to 40. And so quality is equal to, let's say, 25%. Yes, 25% is okay. So it means we are compressing our images with that tool. So let's go back. And mind you, if you're working with a highly powerful network, it will take about few minutes or few seconds to get your uploaded. Yeah, few seconds, like 2-3 seconds, and the news will show up. Actually my network is kind of something, and it needs to take some time. So you see we're still getting these images, and actually those that does not have the images will be displayed with no image, and those that have will be loading, and it's okay. It's showing up. So basically this is how it works. Actually haven't added any event to the touchable opacity, so it just show like click, nothing happens. Alright, so a very simple news app that we just built. Actually I'm going to do the web view in the next video, so that we get to know much. But before that, let's go back to the newsapi.org and let's learn wanted to stuff about what happens actually. Okay, so let's go to the documentation. Sorry. Okay, so let's go to the top. We're looking at the response. Okay. Okay, so if we look at the response, the most important thing for us now is the source, because each article got a source from the source object. Alright, so that's the only thing. You can go through the documentation of the site and look at how things work, especially when you want to display. Alright, okay, I don't have the original version over here, so basically this is what we have done. Okay, so now that our app is ready and it's up and running the way we wanted it, we need to add some few configurations before we generate the APK. Now when you go to the official React documentation for signing, generating a sign APK, you have to come in here, and then the first step is going in here, copy this. Now let's go to where I have where you have your Java JDK installed. First of all, let's run command prompt as administrator. Yes, cd okay, so cd program. Let me go. Let's say cd bin, and then let's paste this. Paste, and then let's come change it. So RNNewsApp, RNNewsApp. Let's go to here and remove the dollar sign. So I enter the password. Okay, so now we have our key store in here. We can then go and copy. It is going to be okay. So we'll cut it. Let's come to our project directory, and it's going to be in tutorials, and then go to source. No, sorry. Go to Android, build, no, app, and then it's going to be here. So let's see this command prompt, then create contents. Remember, let's know we use later than, so remember that can so place the under the file Android app. So let's see, are we there? Yes, Android app. Then place it over here, continue. Okay, and now it's here. And then you say edit the Gradle file properties. So once we're in here, we go to the build, let's see, Gradle properties. Okay, so we need to go back and go to Gradle.properties over here. We need to enter the Gradle. Which of, okay, so it has to be .Gradle. No, not over here. So I think it's over here. Okay, so Gradle.properties. Okay, and then we need to copy this and then come over here and paste. Now our file name is RN, sorry, RNNewsApp. .keystore. My alias is RN.NewsApp, and the password is the same. Okay, so I'll go to the documentation again, and then there is going to be a global variables we can use later. Note that once you publish app, you need to publish under a different parameter, not download rating. If you want to change sign, so back up your key store and don't forget the password. So note, if you are not keen on storing plain text and store your credentials in the keychain in an app, then you skip the last two rows. Okay, let's go and check this out, but it's not important to this. I'll check it out later. Okay, so we need to copy this in our Android build file. So let's go to sign in configs, copy, come in here, and then let's look for app build.gradle, and then let's come down to the configs, and then okay, so over here you need to close the sign-in configs. Okay, so you need to bring on to close it, and then let's save it, because I got an error in here. So okay, so now sorry, okay, now our app has done with the building. It's now generated as APK, so we can come over to Go to tutorials, RNNewsApp, go to Android, go to app, build, output, APK, and then we're going. Okay, so once our app has done with the build, we need to check one or two stuff here. This is very important. Now make sure that your Android object in the build.gradle, and close this. Okay, so in the build.gradle, in the app directory, now the app object closes on 489, and make sure that this, the default config, close on 109. The signing config start from 110, sorry, 110 to close C to 119. The split start from 120 to 127. The build start from 128 to 134. Or better still, you can copy or clone this file from my GitHub repo so that you get the exact same thing, because if there is a wrong configuration out here, you're not going to get the build correctly. So now let's come to the folder where my APK is at the project. Go to Android, go to app, go to build, then outputs and APK. Now on the APK there are two files that are not important. Okay, so the release and unreleased. Now this is the debug for the setup. So this debug APK is what we use when we are developing, and this is the release. And with the release, you have two types of releases. So based on the architecture of the device, we can know what we need. And my Linux player uses the x86 architecture. So you see the file size is far less than the debug, because the debug combines the two in its build. So with the debug you can run on any architecture, but if we separate the concerns, we separate the builds, then it means that each and every build or architecture is going to have its own build and its own APK. So that one is in the splash. Now when it comes to the splash, now you say enable. If you say enable, then we have to come here. So enable separate build per architecture, per CPU architecture is true. So once this is true, it means we are going to build for these two architectures. And if you look at the universal APK, it's set to false, and they have commented that if it's true, also generates an universal APK, which means that an APK that can run on any CPU architecture is going to be generated. But we are only concerned with the ARMBI and x86. So my next player uses x86, and I have already installed it, so it's a new app here. And there's one thing that we need to do, because this project's name is the same as our project name. So the APK name or the application name is the same as our project, and we need to make it like something rich, like you see Brave News with some space, Play Store with some space. So we're going to change it, and we have to come to one directory here. So let's say we come to our root directory of our project, then we go to Android, we go to app, we go to source, and then we go to RS. Now on the the resources directory, you have to go to the values and we go to the strings.xml. Now this is where we change the name for our application name, because it says string is equal to app name, and let's change it to React Native. Okay, let's make it RNNewsApp. RNNews. Okay, RNnews or RNNewsApp. Okay, so we have RNNewsApp. Let me combine the RNnews together. Okay, so we're going to have, no, it's not the best. RNNewsApp. Okay, so once we save and once we run the Gradle build assemble release, we're going to get a new app over here that is going to change this to a new app name. And in some other videos you're going to look at how to change the icon and how to add splash screen. After adding the web view, we're going to do another series on how to make this. So we wait for the app to finish. Okay, so now our app has done with the build, and let's reinstall this. Okay, so this is the release. The release. We need to install the release. Kind of big. Oh, okay. So let's go here. Then uninstall it. Okay. Okay, so the app is being installed. Alright, so now we get the name as here as our news app is the same as what we get over there. Okay, let's run on. I think my network is back online. Let's see what happens. Okay. Okay, so we get the news about, and it seems okay, all things are in order. Alright, so basically this is what we wanted to achieve, and we have achieved it. So we look up in the next video to add the web view feature, and also how to add a splash screen and change the icon. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and stay for more. Thank you.